Welcome back, it's Max, and you just caught me heading back to my cathedral storage room from a brisk stroll in the Minecraft wilderness. Sometimes, I just like walking in a random direction, collecting bits and bobs from the world, and just clearing my head. When I was heading back, something just didn't seem right with me. I think I just got to see my cathedral in a totally new light. Here, let me show you. Yeah. Isn't she gorgeous? This is definitely my new favorite angle of my storage room.
But you see it too, right?
The grandeur of the building is just not there. It's missing that central shape that just towers into the sky. I think we need a steeple, people. But I don't even know where to start. I mean, this build is heavily inspired by Gothic architecture, so maybe some IRL research can help us build a steeple, people. Brisk stroll through my local Philadelphia neighborhoods exposed countless steeples. I felt like everywhere I looked, morning or night, buildings towered into the sky. From what I could decipher, a steeple is a monument to the sky, impending over a surrounding area, emphasizing the beauty and grandeur of the building upon which it stands. As the creative juices started to kick in, I began to take aspects of these steeples that I wanted to reproduce. I want to start dissecting some of the cathedral steeples that I see around Philadelphia. For example, I found this one in Fairmount that is gorgeous. I want to highlight how steep it is as well. This thing goes up at almost a 90-degree angle, and I don't know if we have enough room to do that in the world just because of the height limit, but I think it'll be awesome. So I want to take inspiration from this one and take inspiration from this one.
I don't know if you can see, but it's actually an octagonal base. So it goes from a square to an octagon and then all the way up to a point. I really love that. All right, back to the studio.
The studio? What studio? Just go back in game. This replay is about 6 hours compressed down to just a few minutes. The wool differentiates different shapes and sections and really helped my head focus on building the major shapes of this building. I started out with this big red rectangle, which you can see I adjusted the height a bunch of times. Moving something 4 or 5 blocks doesn't seem like it makes a big difference, but once you step back and see it in the broader build as a whole, it can really shift how these builds look. From there, I tried a few different octagonal shapes before I built it up to the top. I noticed in our reference build that the octagon shape doesn't actually have a flat roof and has these pointed lines at the top of the octagon, and used 2 of the same slopes to create those triangle shapes. It took a really long time to figure out the exact slope of that purple roof, but I found a 2-3 while sloping every section inward was perfect for the cone shape that I wanted. Where the light blue octagon and the red rectangle mixed was a lot of trial and error. I kept reshaping and changing the height of where they connected and looking from a distance to see how it fit in with the broader context of the larger build. I knew I wanted 4 turrets on the corners, so I used lime wool and the same purple roof color, but from a distance, it really was not looking great. I felt that they were too far out, maybe a little too big, and also felt separated from that red rectangle. The next iteration of the turrets were a little thinner and also extended the red diagonals out a little bit more, and building those turrets into the actual side of the building was exactly what really shaped this a little bit better. I wanted to make sure that they were close enough to that light blue section while still having some distance in between the two. So it felt part of the structure, but simultaneously floating and airy and light. And zooming out from the build as a whole, we can really see the shape of these roofs take place. I think that it looks amazing. And although the colors make it look like a circus, once we start detailing the actual colors and builds and walls and planes, I think we can really make something extremely beautiful. I have this map on the ground that I really haven't updated in a while, and I'm curious what it looks like once we update the map. Ooh, that looks so good! And we're not even towards the detail section yet. However, we have a monumental task ahead of ourselves. The texturing. This is the important step where we add the colors and texture to replace the wool outline. I want to reuse some of the colors that we've been using throughout the entire build, like deep slate, diorite, mud bricks, bone blocks, tuff. Okay, side note, I'm recording this in 1.20.1 and the new tuff blocks look so good, and I would absolutely love to use them in the cathedral, but I think I'm gonna have to wait till the end of this episode to update the world. And of course, my absolutely favorite block, smooth quartz. Okay, we have none. We don't actually have none, but we basically have none. I have this shulker box of like quartz pillars and a few blocks here and there, but it is not enough to build the cathedral steeple. So the question is, how are we going to get quartz? We could always go to the chateau and trade with villagers, but I am not a schmuck. and I think it is long overdue to build a gold farm, and I know the one place that we need to go to build that farm. Ugh, this place gives me the heebie-jeebies. I just hate being in the nether roof. It just feels like a liminal space nightmare. But the reason we're here is for this beautiful farm in front of us. The Froglight Farm. I love this farm. It's so fun watching the little frogs munch on the little magma cubes. Besides producing 3 of my favorite light blocks in the game, this accidentally outputs a lot of magma cream, which we're gonna need for our gold farm. I also raided my storage room, so I hope this is enough for our farm. I also spent an hour at the mangrove tree farm, AFKing, and getting enough trapdoors that I think will work for this farm. And for a gold farm, I know you need turtle eggs to attract the piglins. So I decided to fly out to a random island from spawn and start breeding out the first turtles that I see. The key to any of these farms is finding a perfect spot to place your AFK platform. I used the mini HUD mod to apply some visualizations to my game, which helped me find the perfect spot. From there, I added a red sphere, which is the despawn sphere. Mobs can only spawn within 128 blocks of the player, so this shows where all the potential mobs can spawn. I wanted to avoid slabbing the nether at all costs, so I built the AFK spot really high, basically at world height. This way, everything that could spawn in this farm would spawn in the farm. I totally forgot how much fun building farms in Minecraft can really be. I started out with the classic setup, 2 air blocks in between magma block layers. It took me a while to figure out the correct setup to get the zombie piglins to track the eggs and fall down the trapdoors. That took me about 45 minutes to figure out. I then started working on a collection system underneath the farm. I started out with this minecart setup that really wasn't pulling in enough items. So I went on YouTube and found this hopper minecart drop-off system made by Ilmango. This burns all the rotten flesh while saving the gold ingots for bulk storage. It was then time to get the piglin bartering system in place. I made a platform out in the nether and got a bunch of piglins in boats, which obviously was not the most fun thing in the world. I just hate moving mobs. I wish there was a better way, but it's one of the go-to pains in Minecraft. I spent a few hours tweaking and customizing my own custom bartering setup. It uses golden pressure plates, as well as a system of sticky pistons and observers to push out the gold ingots for the piglins to barter. We then have a hopper minecart going underneath the piglins, scooping up all their goodies. I'm not sure if this bartering system already exists or if someone figured this out themselves, but I had a really fun time designing it myself. I built an area with just enough room that I think we could put an auto crafter once those get added to the game. I built another Ilmango hopper minecart unloader, and using sticky pistons over ice, pushed all the bartered items into an array of item filters. After running this system for a long time, I wanted to increase the rates, so I doubled up the magma farm, which totally doubled my output, and now I'm making about 78 gold blocks an hour. Perfectly fine for my needs. And with a few more tweaks, the gold farm is totally done. It took a really long time of AFKing, testing, seeing where I'm having issues, but overall the system works flawlessly now, and the only thing we need is an auto crafter. I'll pop that in once I update the world. And here we have like a ton of stuff. This is gonna be more than enough to work on the Steeple build. So now that we can produce so much quartz, why the heck would I even come back here? Where even is here? This is my villager trading hall chateau that I built in a previous episode. I love this place, but I hope we still get to use it in the future now that we never have to trade for quartz again. Do you really think I'm trading for those prices, buddy?
No way.
The reason I'm here is because every episode I like to add to the Wall of the World. This is a room in my chateau where all the subscribers tell me in the comments where they're from, and we add the flags from either their city, state, or country. I'm excited to add some new flags for this episode. We have subscribers from Australia, Hungary, UK, Liberia, India, Philippines, Belgium, as well as the states of New Jersey, British Columbia, Canada, Tennessee, Michigan, Massachusetts, Virginia, and Flemish Belgium. Also, I saw some news that Minnesota got a new flag, so I added that as well. Please let me know where you're from so I can add you to the Wall of the World. But I don't think I can put it off any longer. I think it's time to buckle down and design this steeple. So the front side is now done, and I think we should now work on... Oh, my elytra's a little low. But I think we should work on the sides and the turrets, and, oh, shit. My elytra broke. Whew. A lot just happened there very quickly, so I want to slow down, sit back, and really talk about what we just did. I got a lot of design and build inspirations from this book I picked up a few months ago at a flea market. It's called The Horizon Book of Great Cathedrals, edited by Jay Jacobs and made by Horizon Magazine. This book is chock full of some amazing drawings, paintings, and pictures of cathedrals, as well as a ton of words that I did not read at all. It's got cathedrals all throughout Europe, and I had this book on my lap the entire time I spent building that steeple, which was about 10 hours. Let's look at the steeple in detail and show some of the pages that inspired me to create some of those designs. First thing you will notice is that we are clearly not done. In order to spend my time effectively, I wanted to really hone in on the design of the structure itself. And since this is symmetrical on all four sides, we really just need to design one front face and one diagonal one, and the rest will be copied over and built using Lightmatica. I used a variety of blocks here, most which fall within the grayscale to complete a mostly monochromatic build. For roofs, we stepped into the brown tones of mud bricks, which I'm starting to realize is a little bland on this scale. Maybe we work on adding splotches or gradients on the roof in the future episode. If you have any ideas here, let me know in the comments or on Discord. I knew I wanted a large stained glass window, similar to many of the cathedrals in my reference book. I spent a lot of time working on the overall shape first. This was so much trial and error, and we spent almost a 2.5 hour live stream working on just the quartz part. I found that working at this scale means that each slab, stair, and trapdoor needs to be precise to the exact circular shape that I wanted. One of the challenges was that since I was working with iron trapdoors, they had to be powered in order to be vertical. Finding the exact place that not only the trapdoor would fit, but was able to be powered and look good too, was really difficult, and probably the hardest part of the entire build. But, I mean, I think it turned out magical. Not only up close, but from really far away as well. Honeycomb blocks have this natural lattice pattern that fit really well with faux stained glass, and the shroom lights had a similar texture while simultaneously adding a nice pop of light. We also have been using green verdant frog lights on the exterior, but once I built out the yellow stained glass windows at the top, I switched all the frog lights out to the yellow ochre ones. I also see a little bit of a yellow hue in the mud bricks anyway, so I think it fits. Now, I'm not a great texturer, but I wanted to try something new here for this build. You may notice that we used blackstone with gray glass panes on the left side, and smooth basalt, cobbled deep slate walls, and white stained glass on the right. This was supposed to look like the left side was in shadow and make the steeple look a little more dynamic and 3D. Although it's really subtle, I think it definitely helps the design and is something that I want to add to my builds in the future. Also, in the background, I used andesite walls instead of full blocks, which reinforces the depth and pops out the stained glass window just a little bit more. Moving down, I found in my research that a lot of these cathedrals use pillars and windows as vertical decoration. I worked on a window design that would contrast the dark colors surrounding the stained glass, so naturally I went for a white background color and found that quartz bricks work really well. I've personally really underutilized this block in the past, and I was happy to include it in the build. We used 2 different colors of wood for this section, as they all serve a purpose. The vertical lines are 2 thick, dark oak trapdoors, and are made to look as if they are part of the deep slate. This has an effect that at much further distances, these flow into shapes and are congruent as part of one entire piece. The spruce fence and fence gates tie into the colors of the mud brick roofs to make the build feel more cohesive. And of course, I used ochre frog lights to hide some cheeky lighting. If we travel a little bit lower, I took inspiration from the pillars I built at the base of the cathedral. I added fence gates, which connect walls to add some interesting vertical shapes. It has the structure of pillars, but the designs look like small ovals and arches that work amazingly well on this scale. The turrets themselves were a fight with depth. I kept pushing the insides of the turret further and further back in order to create some interesting patterns and depth in between the front face and the back face. The diagonal walls are very similar to the front-facing walls. I was able to add a very tiny arch that is hard to see using some diorite walls and some quartz pillars. I wanted an interesting connection between the wall and the turret, and used a very high contrast block, the smooth quartz, to create an interesting floating buttress to hold the turrets in place. And of course we filled the roof with as much mud bricks as we could muster, which I think is pretty easy once I found a good pattern. Getting back into the designing phase of Minecraft was so much fun, and it's the reason I always come back to the game. Just grinding away, making some small, tiny tweaks here and there to create something more than the sum of its parts. I think the steeple is a perfect cap to the cathedral and draws your eye upwards towards the top of the building. I could not be happier with the end result. But now we gotta create it 3 more times. So, we got a lot of grinding of materials to do. One mining off-camera meme later, and I got all the resources we need for the steeple. It's about 1,800 blocks total, and will be a monumental task. So, sit back, relax, and enjoy. Okay, so I haven't actually looked at the cathedral yet from the original view angle, which is where we started the episode from. I just gotta rip the band-aid off, right? Alright, 3, 2, 1. Yes, dude. Oh, this looks so good. This is exactly what I pictured in my head when I was first designing ideas for this project. Without a doubt, I have to call the steeple a major project success. It just fits so naturally into the roof of the cathedral and looks like it's been part of the structure for 100 years. But I wonder, compared to an actual European cathedral steeple, how does it really compare? Well, that's the end of the video. I wanted to come and see an actual steeple, so we're here in Glasgow, Scotland, at the University of Glasgow, and compared to it, I think I did alright. Anyway, like and subscribe. See ya!